Quarantining for crested geckos. What's the point? Is it necessary? Is it truly needed? Let's dig in. What's going on, guys? Will here, Flawless Crested Geckos, coming to you guys with yet again another video, and we just want to kind of shed some light on this topic. And yes, we've been asked about this several times, and we actually advise a lot of people and new customers when they purchase from us on different things to do when you receive your crested geckos. This is one of the main things, well, a few of the main things we would like you guys to understand. We do not create the bylaws for crested gecko keeping. We like to talk to you guys from our perspective and what has worked for us. We never want to put things out like this is the only way to do anything when it comes to crested geckos. This is just a lot of the time our way of approaching different scenarios. So when it comes to quarantining crested geckos, the flat out answer right now, before we start elaborating a little bit, is yes. I think crested geckos need to be quarantined for several reasons. And they probably do not stop there, but I'll give you a few examples. We've been contacted already. I didn't want to make this a big Q&A. A lot of times when you do Q&As, we like to give credit where credit is due, but a lot of the questions we get a lot of the time, the people asking the questions don't really want to be put out there. We want to create this area where if someone has a question about a topic, there's probably somebody else out there that also has that same question. So when we answer questions that we receive by email, by message, whatever it may be, you know, word of mouth, person to person at a show. By the way, come check us out this weekend in Tinley. But when we answer some of these questions, we try to figure out, you know, ways to put it on film, to hopefully address it in a manner where it's respectful for the person that asked the question. At the same time, it's putting out information and educational content for people that may potentially have that same issue. So that's the purpose of a lot of these videos. So when it comes to quarantine, we'll use ourselves for example. Across the board, we still add new geckos to our collection from various breeders. A lot of the time, as long as we, you know, like the gecko and it's, you know, to our needs, we'll go ahead and add a gecko. And, you know, we have the facility. But when we purchase geckos, when we add new geckos, new lines, whatever it may be, they do not go straight into the facility. If you guys been watching this for a while, you know before we built the vault, we did everything like everyone else, which is perfectly fine, and we ran everything out of our home. We have a decent sized home, but it started taking up more, close to half of our home with crested geckos. At one point, we even had crested geckos on the dining room table. So now that we have our living space back, we've been able to dedicate certain areas. Like here, we have a recording studio that we try to dedicate strictly for the businesses. But we also have quarantine areas dedicated inside our home where we have a baker's rack. We keep it relatively simple. We don't really have any new additions at the moment, or I will show you guys, but we don't have any new additions at the moment. We did go the container store route. So we have several enclosures that are actually set up on a baker's rack in different sizes. We also have a few large totes as well set up in case we add a breeder here or there, a breeder size animal here or there, and we can bring them in and quarantine them. So for what we are doing, what are our standards that we use for, you know, our standards of operation? So what we do is if we acquire a new gecko, we purchased a new gecko from Tom not too long ago, as well as from Raven Geckos. There's several different people, but again, that's over 90 days ago. Our quarantine process here is about 45 days. Sometimes it can reach 60 days just because we simply forget to move them. So what does that actually look like? We set them up very, very bare enclosures, paper towel down, on for the substrate. Typically, we're not feeding them any bugs whatsoever during quarantine, so we don't have any bug issues there. As you guys know, if you watch our content, we don't use paper towel substrate in the facility. We use craft paper. For us, it's just better. But up here, actually in the house, we'll use paper towel. The reason behind that is it's white, so therefore, even to the naked eye, we can spot any crazy, bowel movements or anything that looks out of the norm for crested geckos. We can spot it, crystal clear, and address whatever it needs to be. Also, we'll provide, egg crate, false plants, all the hiding spaces. We also provide drinking water, standing drinking water, like we do basically the same way we do for the most part in the facility. And we leave them be once they get set up. We feed on Mondays and Thursdays. So we'll pretty much check up on them like every day. We'll peek in, see what they're doing, see if they're functioning, everything is good. But for the most part, that's it. Besides keeping them clean and feeding them, we're just observing. We're not handling them. We're leaving them be. What are we trying to figure out? We want to observe. You guys needing some assistance with your crested gecko breeding programs? Well, check out our Patreon. We've been running it here now for pretty much close to 2 years. Everyone's been extremely excited. We keep adding new perks every time you guys turn around. We give away Xanthics, we give away high whites, we give away lily whites. We actually upgraded this year to we're giving away over 12 geckos every single year. That averages out to at least a gecko a month, and we've been doing over that. So you are not going to want to miss becoming a part of the Flawless Crested Geckos Patreon family. There's 2 tiers. There's a $50 tier and there's a $100 tier. You get all your funds back in the form of Flawless Crested Gecko savings account. You can take advantage of having 5% additional off by being a Patreon member, as well as having year-round free shipping. You guys are not going to want to miss this, so go head over to patreon.com/Flawless Crested Geckos. Figure out. We want to observe them and make them as comfortable as they possibly can be. Every gecko is going to be different. There's a lot of people that want their geckos, to be very, very, handleable, which makes sense. And we can handle them. But when they're in quarantine, we don't do any of that. We let them get adjusted. We let them get adjusted to our new feeding schedule. We let them get adjusted to the way we feed, even your feeding types, your food types. Again, if you guys been watching this for a while, we feed Rapashi, Pangea, BP Zoological. We have had 0 issues feeding all flavors. We even add a banana, an actual banana into food, once a month, every blue moon. We did a little funny sketch on Instagram not too long ago. But we haven't had any issues with our crested geckos eating any of the foods. Some people have, personal preference. Order what you like, feed what you like. It does not matter. Feed what you like and what's going to, or what you feel benefits your gecko. We don't want to push you one way or the other. We have not had any issues with our crested geckos not eating a specific food. We haven't had that problem as of yet. But to get back on topic, we want to make sure that they're eating. We want to make sure that they're staying hydrated, they're drinking water, the humidity is correct. We want to make sure. We've had so many geckos at this point that they're acting normal. They're behaving normal. They're running and hiding. They're, you're seeing their throats, breathe, in a normal pace. You're just simply observing them. You don't want to keep pulling them in and out and engaging with them yet. So that normally goes on for about 2 weeks. All right, so it's a 2-week hands-off policy, which is what we go by, just observe only. And then after the 2 weeks, we will now start to, take them out, take pictures of them, but keep handling to a minimum. At the same time, observing how much food they're eating, check their weight when they first arrive, check their weight in 2 weeks. Other than that, again, put them away and you just monitor them continuously for the next 2 weeks. Now you're around 30 days. Now, for the next 2 weeks after the 30 days, which is around that 45-day mark, this is that transitional period where we're like, okay, cool, you can handle them a little bit more. They're pretty much down the home run stretch for us. And long as nothing is jumping out to you that is weird on that crested gecko, you can start transitioning them into your actual collection. That's how we end up quarantining our new additions. This is the thing with crested geckos. They're so fun and exciting. A lot of people will do a quarantine, but it ends up not being a quarantine while they're doing so. We often tell people the same exact, directions or instructions like we're saying here on camera. And they say they're going to do it and then they don't. It's impossible, for example, for someone to, literally I'm going to do exactly what you guys are asking us to do. We think that's the best way to approach it. But then we'll receive a picture message on Instagram every other day of the gecko sitting on a scale. Every other day, literally. That is not letting the gecko get adjusted in quarantine. We check the weight on that gecko literally in a new purchase, every 2 weeks when we first get them. After that, we're not really checking weight like that unless we're needing to check something or something seems off about that crested gecko or the eating habits of the crested gecko also. So after that 45-day quarantine period, now, it will fall in suit. Nothing changes other than, where the gecko is being kept. Now it will be moved down into the vault. And, now it will be offered its first bug offering here. And again, it's just pretty much just rolling out more and more and more. Now, to go a step further for the keeper side of things and enjoying your animals, because as you guys see, we pull out animals, we record, we got a lot of clips and things on our phones. We got a lot of videos we don't use or haven't used yet. We go over a lot of that over on Patreon as far as trying to build up your content library so you have different things to present, even if you're away from your collection, but you can still present them on your social media platform. Go over there, check us out. But you can now, a lot of people have their favorite geckos. They always want to pull out, put on their shoulders, walk around. You can actually work with these crested geckos to a point where that is perfectly fine. I'll be cleaning, and feeding crested geckos, and I may have crested gecko crawling up on my neck, up on my head, and I've been working with this specific crested gecko so long that I'm not worried about it jumping and going crazy. We have to work with them. This is the enjoyment part of the animal process. But this message in this video is to tell you that the enjoyment part of keeping and loving these crested geckos should not be during the quarantine phase of keeping in your new crested gecko. So allow them to get adjusted. Allow them to get adjusted to how you feed, how you keep. These guys are very, very fun, and they can adapt in, no time. A lot of people, especially as babies, they think their geckos aren't eating. It's a volume thing. Their stomachs aren't as big. They're not going to eat the amount of food that you're putting down there. It's just not practical to think that, that small crested gecko is going to, gain 20, 30 grams, roughly in a month and 2 months time. Give it time to get adjusted, give it time to, come into its characteristics, its personality. And again, you're going to have favorites. All we're doing by putting this video out is to get you guys to understand that we do believe that quarantine periods are necessary. Luckily enough for us, we haven't had any detrimental issues with purchasing geckos or dealing with sick geckos. We've dealt with prolapse hemipenes in the past, and we've had to go to a vet. Our vets are pretty doggone good at this point. We have several pretty much that we can contact, which was it was definitely involved to figure out what we had available as far as good vets. We had to figure it out by trial and error of going to different veterinarians, especially specialty vets like, you know, exotic vets. But again, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother video. Hopefully this video has helped you guys out. Hopefully you guys are quarantining. Again, we don't want to push you either way, but we do want you to understand that this is an option. This is an educational period of time and a very, very good informational period of time to put this video out. But hit that subscribe button. It's Will. It's Flawless Crested Geckos. Hope to see you guys in Tinley. Stop by, say hey. Doesn't matter if you buy a gecko or not. We are going to have a blast in Tinley. We're going to have a blast. See you guys there. We love you guys. Have a flawless week.